Hello and welcome once again to another edition of Sun Dragon Tips and Tricks. I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in downtown Brevard, North Carolina, and it's Monday, so I'm at my house. And we left off last week. We're doing our series on granny squares and things related to crochet since the summer is our granny square make-along at Sun Dragon. I did a video for each row of 1 and 2 of a granny square. I'm going to do rows 3 and 4 today in separate videos. And really after that, this one has 5, but really after that, you have the basics to make it as big as you want. We always caution that the bigger, if you want to make one giant, enormous granny square for a blanket, the bigger it gets, the more you may want to decrease the number of chains you're putting between your groupings. Now, videos 1 and 2 went over a lot of the basics of granny squares. And this time, like we built corners last time, real corners. And this time we're going to go over corners versus sides and how they are different. On level 3, you start to hit that. We may not go over all of the basics, that whole list I had last time, those are in both videos 1 and 2. I'd like to try to keep these more bite-sized, potentially. But we are going to go over the idea of putting corners in corners and then having sides and what you do with the sides so you don't get what I like to call barnacle. And I will add on to my drawings that I've been doing. So let's get to it. Okay, on this drawing first, we've talked about in the past how we have these mini square units that are going into spaces, and they are made up of 3 double crochets each. And on round 2, which is our blue one, let's add that in. Let's add in a little bit of a key here. I like to start in a corner. You can start anywhere you want, but I'm also going to give you instructions for going over to the corner. So on round 3, we're going to start talking about how to do corners into corners. Now, the only thing we had when we did round 2 was to get a corner in here. Like we only had corners on round 1. So we put in corners and we set up for having sides. Remember, our blocks are 3 double crochets. Lines are a chain. And if we find a little dot, that's a slip stitch to combine. So let's keep going with the same corner. Let's say we start with a new color. We may have to build to go up. We'll go over that on our other chart. But we're going to do 3 double crochets into this chain 2 space. We're going to chain 2 and do 3 more double crochets. We have a corner where 2 groups of 3 double crochets are going into the same space, and it's going to overlap. It's going to be right on top of the corner from the row below. Now, anything that is put along the side, we don't want to create a corner. If we put 2 sets of 3 double crochets here, we'd have a really weird shape. We want to keep our side straight. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to put one of our building blocks of 3 double crochets into that side space, chain 1, and then we have to build a corner on top of a corner. So into this corner space, we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And we're going to repeat that 2 more times all the way to the corner. A lot of patterns might have a repeat. They might have like in parentheses or asterisks or something to say, do this a couple more times. So I'm going to chain 1, next space, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, turning my corner, I'm going to chain 2, and in that same space, I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the space between building blocks below, chain 1, I'm hitting another corner, so 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. We're going to do this all the way around to the beginning. We don't need to build another corner from here to the end because we're coming back upon our first corner. So chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and slip stitch. You can see we have this pattern we're building out, but we have corners and single sides. On round 2, we only did corners into corners. Round 3, we have both corners. We have a corner here, and we have single units we're putting in. Now, what would that look like if we had one of these funky patterns with the symbols, right? It would be starting in the corner. We would chain 3 most likely. Chain 3. 2 more double crochets to give us the building block. Chain 2. 3 double crochets because we already have our height. So we have a corner inside a corner. Now chain 1. Over here, those are circles. We have 3 double crochets. Trying to keep my symbols straight here. Into that space. Chain 1. It's going to look the same. We just have more marks to build this. So then we have to put a corner, which is 3 double crochets. Chain 2. 3 double crochets. And now we have a side. Remember, between things on a side, we only chain 1. We're chaining on the one I'm showing you, we're chaining 2 for a corner, 1 between units on a side just to give us some space. And every time to move across, we are not going in the top of stitches on this one. 3 double crochets into the space, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. That makes our corner. 2 things into, with spaces in between, into the same space, turns our corner. 3 double crochets. Working our way along the side. 3 double crochets. Chain 2. 3 more double crochets. I can put these a little closer together. So they don't look like they're overlapping too much. If I was going to write out a real pattern here, I might be, taking my time and being more precise. I'm just trying to show you all 3 double crochets into this hole, chain 1, and a little bit of a slip stitch there. So this is what it looks like in our geometric symbols, and this is what it might look like if you're looking at a crochet chart. Let's see what happens when we work with real yarn. So here is my real life granny square with only 2 rows. We had our original 4 for round 1, and we built corners for round 2. Every hole got a corner. Now we have holes that are corners and holes that are sides. So to do round 3, to have it look like this next purple round, we need corners into corners. And in the space that we've made on the sides, the chain 1 from the row below, we need to put a side unit. Sides only get 1 block of 3 double crochets. Corners get 2. So we just need to keep track. Some of that is visual. If it helps to count, that could be counting. We need to keep track. Let's review really quickly. If you wanted to keep going, let me get out. I bound off last time, but let me get out. Whoop. If you had finished round 2, And you want to keep going. Here, let me see. I need a chain one. I over pulled out, that's okay. And a slip stitch here. If you want to keep going with the same color over in the corner, a reminder, we need to slip over to it. So we're going to find the middle of this block, which is the space right where my thumb is. I'm going to do a slip stitch. Moves me over one. I'm going to slip stitch again. Slip stitch is to go in, pull up a loop, and pull through everything. And then I'm going to go into the hole in the corner. Now that I'm in the corner, I can chain up my 3. Let's see, I didn't leave myself enough yarn here. And start my next one. So either chain, slip stitch to your corner and wait for me there. Or if you're changing colors like I am, we need to fasten off here. And my trick is I like to do a slip stitch into the next stitch. So I'm going to find, let me get my hook in well. I'm going to find the next one over. I'm going to slip stitch into that one, but then I'm going to pull through. I've already cut my yarn, so I'm going to pull through to fasten that off. My next row is going to be purple, according to this. So I'm going to, light purple, I should say. I've got light and dark purple here. And how I like to attach a new yarn is with my right hand with a little bit of a tail. I'll hold it to the back of the work just so I can get my tension set. But then I'll grab with the thumb and whatever finger likes to work with it. I will grab that and my granny square with my left hand. I'm pinching it over to the right side here so I can pick up my hook, get it under. Now I can scoop the yarn. Again, I'm pinching the tail right there. Scoop the yarn under. I'm going to slip stitch it in place, so yarn over and pull through. And if I want to, I can grab the tail and give a yank. That puts me in the exact same spot as if I had slip stitch into this hole with the same color. So instructions are the same for here on out. I am going to chain 3 to build my height. I need to finish this block. This counts as 1 double crochet. All the blocks in a granny square are 3, so I'm going to put in 1. That counts as my second. It's the first real double I'm doing. I'm going to put in another. That gives me one of my little blocks. Now I'm going to chain 2 to turn my corner, and to complete it looking like a corner, I'm going to do 3 more. This whole time I have been wrapping the base of my stitches. Let me show you that with this one. I go in and I make sure that my tail is right behind what I'm going into, so that when I pull up a loop, it is caught behind. It's like the first step to securing my ends in place. Look at this little fuzzy guy out of here. So that's 1, 2, 3. So those whole first 6 are all wrapping around my tail back there. I'm still going to secure him in better later. I might have another video on that. So I finished this corner. Now this next space, hopefully it's pretty clear it's not a corner. The corners we can identify as 2 different 3 double crochet units going into the same hole. So this space between them is a corner. This space is not. So I'm only going to chain 1 to move me along the side. And I'm going to put 1 unit of 3 double crochets in here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. A little bit of hair stuck in that. But let's say we forgot which row we were on and we thought we were on row 2 and we thought we had to put a corner in here. Let me show you what that would look like. If I chained 2, not 3, if I chained 2 and I put another 3 double crochets in here, just watch what that would look like. We'd have a bubble here. And then if we did it again here, it wouldn't lie flat. We don't have a straight side, which is what we need. Now, if you're creating your own thing, you may want to do that, but we're just doing a classic granny square. So I'm going to pull back to where we had just finished the single unit of 3 on the side. To get to the corner, we're only going to chain 1. And now if you lose track, if you're like, I can't see what's going on here, count your posts. 1, 2, 3. There's a space in here, and then 1, 2, 3. We want to keep groups of 3 together. So I'm going to put between these 2 groups of 3 is where is the space that my corner goes. So I'm going to double crochet 1, double crochet 2, double crochet 3. That puts my 3 on the side here. I need to turn my corner. I need to do, here's a corner. I need to get a corner in here. So I need to chain 2 and put another set of 3 into the same space right here. So I'm going to go in the same hole. 1, 2. Ooh, and sometimes they don't want to pull cleanly. We just try again. 3. Pull out when in doubt, pull out. I like to say, of the current stitch you're on. If you've forgotten where you are, back out to where things look recognizable and start again. So we have a full side. We have the corner we turned down here. We have a side. We've turned the corner. We need to put units in every space. So we don't skip this space, but it's a side. So we're going to chain 1. We're going to go into this next hole, but we're only going to put 1 unit of 3 double crochets in there. 1, 2, 3. Now, we have a corner coming up. We have 2 units of 3 double crochets in 1 hole, which means the same thing needs to happen on the diagonal that comes out from that. So I may not see that when I'm coming around, but what I can see when I look down is these 2 units. So the space in between them needs 2 units as well. So I'm going to come on in. 1. Ooh, I think I split that a little. 2. Get some slack whenever you can to help you out from the working yarn. 3. I've got my 1, 2, 3. Chain 2 because I know I'm making a corner. Always yarn over before you start your double. Let's get 3 more into the same space. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now I need to work along this side. Remember on row 3, there's just 1 single unit between corners. Everything is growing by units of 1. So chain 1, 1 side unit on this row. 1, 2. I know I might be going kind of fast, but I'm always yarning over before starting my stitch that goes into a space on these basic granny squares. Chain 1, because I'm heading to a corner, but I'm not there yet. And this guy, I can put my unit of 3 in. 1, 2, 3, double crochets. If I look below me, I have a corner here, so I need to do a corner in the space in between these units. Chain 2, 1, if I can catch him. another unit of 3 double crochets is going in the same space. Again, I'm doing something into every hole around. So I have one more hole here, and then I have to join to the beginning. So on the sides, we chain 1 between spaces, one more space to go into, and he only needs 3 double crochets, 1 unit of 3 double crochets. I have just so happened to have started just to the left of where I fastened off. So what I'm going to do is lay my yarn from my row below fasten off over this hole, so I can yarn over and go in and wrap around it and just start to kind of tack it down. If you remember to, that's awesome. If you don't, that's okay too. You can sew them in later. So there's my second. And here is my third double crochet. I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to go into the top of the chain 3 over here. Now remember what I said about identifying that. If you're not sure, each of these other double crochets, so there's a chain, double, double. The doubles will look like the letter, because we're not turning this around, it will look like the letter P with a post that comes down and a hole that is off to the right. So that's my last one of this cluster. Here's the middle one. So this space right in here is the top of my middle double. So I want to go to the chain right next to it, if I can spot it. If not, you can totally fudge so much with these and no one's going to know. But I just pushed into the top chain of my chain 3. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. And I'm also going to pull through the loop on my hook. Now, if I want to start with the same color on my next row, I am going to slip stitch into that middle P we just identified. And I'm going to slip stitch into the next top of a stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the corner, and I'm ready to go. And I'll review this on the next video too. If I'm switching colors, I like still to slip into the top of the next stitch, but then I would cut this and pull through. And I'll do that on the next video. But here is round 3. And look at that. It's got 3 units on each side. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Thanks for joining us for round 3 of our granny squares. I am also going to try to film round 4 today. 1, 2, 3. The difference between round 3 and round 4 will be how many units we get to do on the side, and it will keep growing. So you can take what you're learning, especially from rounds 3 and 4, and duplicate that for any row after that. You just will have a larger number of sides to go across before you hit the corners, but everything else is pretty much the same. Use the same guidelines and principles we've been going over. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope in the future to also do some videos about weaving ends in, and maybe on how to attach these together. There are so many different ways to do that. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Our channel is growing by leaps and bounds, and that is so exciting. Anything you can do, subscribing, liking, commenting, that's all free to do. If you'd like to monetarily support the work we do, there are memberships here, and you can also become a patron over on patreon.com. Monetary contributions, monthly contributions get your name listed in the credits on these videos. Whatever you'd like to do to help out, we really appreciate you taking the time to check out this channel. And as we always like to say, may your crafting be filled with joy and confidence. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.